All right, good morning. Ooh, that sounds terrible. So today's video should actually be like one of the easiest ones we do. We should do it really, really quickly because I really believe you guys know this. But again, we want to review everything before we go to math testing. Okay, so everybody should be looking at this paper. It is your guided practice number 3 sheet. And instead of making you watch me type things and then make fun of how hard I press the keyboard or whatever, I already just put them in. Okay? So, we're talking about comparing and contrasting. We should have learned this probably in elementary school. But we're going to review it again to make sure that we know exactly what's up. So, what does it mean to compare? It's to point out similarities. So, if you're talking about cats and dogs, you would compare them by saying that they're both animals. What does it mean to contrast? It's to point out differences. Again, there are many differences between cats and dogs. Cats are meaner, dogs are yappy. Anyway, whatever. So, we have our definitions. Comparing, similarities, contrasting, pointing out differences. Okay? Then we have signal words that we're going to think of. So this means like anytime you're reading something, if you see these words, it's probably signaling either that they're comparing two things or contrasting two things. Okay? So our comparing words are alike also, as well as both, just as, like, same, similar, together, and to. Our contrasting words, then, are but, different, even though, except, however, instead, not like, though, and unlike. Right? Again, this should all be review. This should all be the most review of all reviews. We're going to practice it together. We'll read this. You'll fill in the chart, and then we're going to move on. There is one caveat or thing that you need to keep in mind for today. After we finish this guided practice, you have to have read chapters 5 and 6, so 4, 5, and 6 in Code Talker to be able to complete task 3 properly. Okay? So, unlike other days, you can't just go straight from this to task 3. You need to make sure you're caught up in the book first. Alright, so we're talking about schools in Japan and the United States. Make sure you follow along while I read. Students in Japan spend far more days in school during the year than students in the United States. A Japanese student attends school 240 days a year, whereas a student in the United States goes for 180 days. In addition to Monday through Friday, Japanese students are in school for half a day on Saturday, with 1 or 2 Saturdays off each month. The average summer vacation for students in Japan lasts only 6 weeks, while summer vacations in the United States can last 12. In both countries, the school day usually ends around 3 o'clock. After school, though, many Japanese pupils attend cram schools 2 or 3 days a week where they study for their next major test. These sessions last 2 or 3 hours. Like students in the United States, there's a signal word, they may also take private lessons in music or sports after school or belong to school clubs. Then, in the evening, Japanese students usually do several hours of homework. In fact, they may do as much as 5 or 6 hours each night. Overall, students in the United States probably spend more time after school on sports, hobbies, and friends than on schoolwork and tests. Many students in the United States finish their homework before they get home. So, we're going to fill in our Venn diagram. We should all know by this point in our lives that this is called a Venn diagram. So, this side here is where we point out things about Japan. This side here is where we point out things for the United States. And right in the middle is where we identify those very, very few similarities that they pointed out in the video. And I have my board again. So, in Japan, I guess I'll pull it up big so you can see. Okay. In Japan, they go to school 240 days. They go on Saturdays. Their summer equals 6 weeks. And their homework equals 5 to 6 hours. Ooh, wrong way. In the United States, they go to school 180 days, Monday through Friday only. Summer equals 12 weeks, and their homework equals few hours. They did not give us a direct number, so we don't want to assume, but they did imply, or they stated things so we can infer that it's only a few hours because a lot of kids are able to get it done before they even get home. And then our similarities. It ends at 3. And both countries have students that participate in clubs and sports. And if we really want to, we could just say they both have to go to school. But I figure that's also something that is easily inferred. All right. So again, we're moving on to task 3, but you have to have read 4, 5, and 6 to be able to properly do task 3.